Hello, this is Heather Lee, elementary principal at Smithtown Christian School. The purpose of this audio is to go over a few details about the Elementary Faculty Manual for 2015 and 2016. This is one of the two handbooks that all faculty members are responsible to know the information in. This one is located on the school's Google Drive under Elementary Faculty Manual 2015-2016. The other document is the Parent-Student Handbook, which is located under the Resources page of the school's website. And that one, the Parent-Student Handbook, goes over all of the policies and procedures, or not all of them, but many of them related to the elementary program. The Faculty Manual is a bit more of an insider's for people who work at the school or need to implement those policies. I would like you to read. I know it may be a quick read, but please read through the information. And if there's anything that you know is either wrong or is something you believe isn't followed anymore, or shouldn't be for some reason, please do talk with me about that at some point. My goal is that these documents are fully up to date and they represent our program well. So as I said, this is really just a highlight. There are a few things that I will be discussing in here, and I'm going to begin by jumping to the bottom of page 4. You won't be able, unless you pause this, to scan all of and read along, probably, unless you're a really good speed reader. I want to go to the section on student arrival and tell you about a change this year related to busing. You may know that I'm responsible for transportation coordination this year in place of Mrs. Golden. And one of the changes at the secondary level is that secondary students will be able to get off their buses at 8:05. There will be a sign that says 6 through 12 displayed to the bus drivers, and secondary students may get off the bus and they will be able to go in, they'll be able to buy a snack and begin their morning routine a bit earlier. Elementary students need to stay in their buses and seated until 8:10 a.m. Then there's going to be a K through 5 sign that'll be quickly displayed, and then they'll know that elementary may come on board. So we still need to be in place at 8:10 in our classrooms for 3rd through 5th grade teachers and in the lobby for kindergarten through 2nd grade teachers. We do a great job of being there, of welcoming the kids. I really appreciate that. And 3rd through 5th grade teachers, please continue to reinforce with your students that if you are not in the room for some reason, they should be waiting out in the hallway so that students are never in their classrooms unattended. Also, beginning this year, or for this trial, as secondary students are coming in at 8:05, only 5th grade students this year at 8:10 may go in the annex doors. And the reason is because of the secondary congestion back there in the annex, and we'll make it a 5th grade privilege. So 5th graders may go in the back annex doors that's closest to their classrooms, and kindergarten through 4th grade students should come in the narthex. So please tell that to your students the first day of school if they don't get it that day, and we'll continue to remind them. Down below is a comment about morning preliminaries, and it's similar to last year. There likely will be announcements, and I'm going to leave it to the elementary teachers when you want to do pledges and prayer and attendance, which should be early in the morning, for your classroom. I don't want our students to learn to just tune out announcements and not listen, as Pastor Erdvig is praying or something like that. So it should be respectful and quiet, but depending on your classroom routine, it's okay to not stop everything and listen at that time. The next section talks about taking attendance. This is on the top of page 5. And I just want to highlight the first 2. This is something we really need to be careful of as teachers. We should have a note or email from parents whenever their child is absent in order for it to be an excused absence, when they're sick, and all of the excused or unexcused reasons are located in that student handbook. So when you get that email, it's not your job to track down all of those notes. I know you don't have time to do that, but if you get a note or an email, or they say to you in the assignment pad, then jot a note and send it to the office. But those should go to Lee Russo this year, those absentee letters, and those are kept for future reference. Going on to page 7 at the bottom, there's a section on teacher duties and assignments, and there's not really changes in duties or assignments. This is on the bottom of page 7. I just want to make a note. We do a good job of being on time for school, and it's going to continue to be very important, especially as I have more duties with the busing this year, and it'll be more important for me to be outdoors at some point in the morning, although I can't be as committed as Jill was to be there every day all the way through. And so I may or may not be able to check in as frequently. So it's important that you are here on at 7:50, you sign in at the office and ready on your post when it's time. The next page, chapter 8, has something about teacher absences that isn't necessarily new, but it's a bit more finalized or a bit more clear than it was before. This was something confusing for me as a new teacher, and based on some comments from teachers, I think it was confusing or maybe done differently in the past. It's the section on partial day absences. This is when you know you'll be out in advance. Maybe your kids have a doctor's appointment or your child has a program or something like that. What you should do is fill out one of those employee time off absence forms submitted. And those are important for me. They're important for me for arranging a sub, for remembering to jot down when I'm at my computer when you'll be gone, because I should know when any teacher is out of their classroom, even if it's for a short amount of time. So those amounts of time, the next sentence says, the principal may waive short amounts of time, less than 2 periods, which is about an hour and a half, if they occur infrequently, and in such case, the principal will not submit the form to accounting for time to be deducted. So there are times you might know you're going to be a little late, some kind of appointment, you fill out the blue form. I have it, but if I choose to waive it, I'll let you know, and I simply won't submit it to accounting. And then I'll just get rid of that and waive those ones. But those blue forms still help me to stay organized and have what I need to have in place. Longer amounts of time, going back to reading, may be kept and submitted in increments of half days. So maybe, you have a quarter day here, quarter day here. They might be added up to that half day. And then this is for clarity too. Time deducted is based on contract time missed, not on whether a substitute needs to be obtained. So anytime you are out during that 7:50 to 3:15 and you're out for that, less than 2 periods or more than 2 periods, that's something that I do need to know about. We really want to be flexible. We know that, we want to support you going to, your kids' programs or, taking your child to the doctor, those kind of things we know are good and needed. But it's not fair if one person can do that often because maybe their schedule is such that they have this big, double period, or they have a planning section, or they have an assistant, or, something happens and they're able to leave, but then other people aren't. So just to be fair and consistent with that, please submit those forms. And then another example is if someone leaves sick, but we happen to have somebody who can cover or change, or you only missed a special and then someone just took your kids out to dismissal. We still want to be faithful in filling out those forms afterwards, because somebody might luck out one day and get all these, get people to cover them, and then the next day somebody else can't, and it's not fair to deduct for one and not the other. So again, we want to be flexible, very much so, and I hope to waive lots of those. All right, down to the bottom, talks about faculty meetings. We will have faculty meetings on Tuesdays again this year. It won't necessarily be every second and fourth or first and third. I don't remember what it was last year. But rather, I have selected the meeting dates based on our school's calendar, and I will be sending you out a list of those dates. Next page, page 9, mentions lesson plans. This faculty is fantastic at handing out lesson plans, or handing in lesson plans. Thank you so much. They're still due Mondays by 12. And if you type them, the best way to send it to me is through Google Drive. That way I have access to them no matter where I am. The bottom is just a reminder to make sure you're aware of that policy about videos and DVDs in the classroom, and it shows you how to find that. I certainly do trust you for small little clips and things that you show, but if there is anything controversial in there, be sure to run it by me. Just have me see it. And let's be on the real conservative side about what we're showing our students. The next section talks about field trips, and there will be a more clear field trip policy that comes out, but at this point there are no changes to field trips. You gave me the information last year. I've typed that up. I have a better bird's eye view of what our field trips are at this point, and you may continue to plan on doing the field trips that are on your list. not talking to anybody about changing any of their trips. Although as we get into service learning and have more trips related to service learning, you may desire or be asked to change a trip at that point. Going on to page 12, I wanted to give you a heads up that under monitoring student progress, we will have mid-quarter reports again this year. They won't be the written formal kind that I did at the beginning of last year, but there will be a point where I'll ask you to keep, filling me in on who are your concerns and how have you communicated with parents, just so that we keep that as a real priority of letting parents know about concerns and helping me to stay on top of them as well. The next page, page 13, mentions something about writing folders. We need to talk together as a team, whether we're going to continue those writing folders this year. And so I just wanted to put that out there. That will be discussed this year. There's a long section about the academic resources, and we're going to talk about that more as a group later on, kind of talk a little bit about the philosophy and the help that the ARC provides and how we interact with them. That'll be a bit later. And finally, on the bottom of page 15, there's an addition to the section about ordering of classroom supplies. This is something you probably know, but now it's in writing. The last bullet says teachers are given an allowance to spend in their classes per student to spend on classroom activities or other supply needs. That money has typically been $15 per student. I can't guarantee it will always be that, but at this point, unless I tell you differently, $15 times however many students you have. It says this money does not carry over from year to year, and teachers are encouraged to use only what is needed. We do an excellent job with that. You're very thrifty. You spend it on what you need, and if you don't need it, many of you don't use up that money. That's certainly appreciated. Receipts and check requests must be submitted to the principal before the end of the school year in order to be reimbursed. That's very important as it doesn't carry over. That is it. That is all that I wanted to highlight on this for now. So please do be familiar with the information, and thank you very much for your time.